I'm Noelle Russell. I'm the CEO of the AI Leadership Institute, and we help business owners from small to very big, help them understand the power of building safe, responsible, and profitable AI systems. And I've been doing this a long time. I started my journey on Amazon Alexa over a decade ago, and now I'm very passionate about making sure that we build AI that serves everybody.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Noelle Russell. She's going to give us the game on what she's been doing in AI for over a decade. I told you we've been playing with it for 8 years or a little more. She's going to go into detail. She started in elementary, and then the store, I think, brought her some children. I believe she has 6 of them. So she's going to correct me if I got any of that wrong. Maybe she's on number 7 or 8. But welcome, Noelle, to Diversified Game. How you doing? Any new additions coming?
Oh my gosh, I wish. I told God himself, I'm like, anytime, bro, let's go. But no, unfortunately. But I'll keep y'all updated.
Gotcha. I don't know how your husband will take that. Like, my goodness, like, come on, man.
I'm like,
Yeah.
more is more. More is more.
Well, you've written books, you've done TED Talks, you've talked about this AI thing. I just saw AI doc yesterday, and I can't say that I learned anything new, because if you watch Moonshot's podcast or Diversified Game or read your book, it's like, okay, that was typical. But where are we at right now with AI? What should people be studying at school? What should they be worried about if they are worried about losing their job? You know the old saying, it won't replace us if we use it. But the reality is people are going to adjust. So what's your forecast?
Absolutely. I actually think there's a couple things. One, I think you should do what you want to do. I have 6 kids. They're each uniquely human in their own way. And I'm really trying to encourage them to find what they love. In the future, now we have the opportunity. I'm an example to figure out what you love to do, right? There's this beautiful Venn diagram between, what you love to do, right? What you're great at doing and what the world needs right now. And all of that requires a bit of self-understanding, self-awareness, but also a bit of empathy for the world. And I think those 2 characteristics have been very, very powerful, at least in my life, and certainly for my kiddos. Things to be aware of, though, like you mentioned, I've been doing this a while. I'm watching a bit of a trend. I wrote my book, I think I started writing it 3 years ago. It finally published last year, but it was on scaling responsible AI, right? From enthusiasm to execution. And that was where we were last year. I called on the cover, you'll see there's a tiger. I kind of called this mode baby tiger mode, right? Where we were all adopting little cute models and they were doing little cute things like note taking and, writing LinkedIn posts and editing emails, like super adorable. We liked it. We told our friends. But now we're those tigers are getting bigger and they're growing up. And so now what I'm seeing is a lot of organizations are trying to figure out, okay, how does this tiger not eat everything around it? How does it not kill this business, hurt my customers, hurt my employees? And so there's a bit of, I wouldn't call it responsibility. No one's coming to me and being like, help me implement responsible AI. But what they are coming to be and asking me for is, how do I make sure I build an AI system that does actually do the thing it promises, right? Which is return value to the organization. So that's a little bit of a different game now, because we're not just doing it because it's cute and cuddly. We're actually looking for, what's my ROI, or what's my return on time, or does this actually generate revenue? And that's the key, right? Is, do I have a metric of success for this AI system? And am I even looking at what kind of return I'm getting from it?
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Okay. And somebody might say, but she still didn't tell me how I'm going to be the first $1 trillion company. Hey, we can get there.
Hey, we can get
Ease
there.
with it.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Hang in there.
Ease. ease on in because you haven't even made your first $10,000 in your business. That same person asking. But when you mention, the education in your kids, and I have to ask this question. I'm doing a second master's right now, and it's in work that I've done before, but just never with the full grasp. But I want to, take another business and do some great things with it. But one of your children, you've talked about having Down syndrome. And growing up with people who have Down syndrome, like they would play with us. We would all play. People sometimes, say, where's the child who might not have been able to come to class with us, but after school we would play with because they were our neighbor.
Yeah.
I find issues with not allowing students, and I've consulted with professors, excuse me, on AI. I think students should be able to use AI. Yes, we're going to get perfect papers, but we've already shown the research that kids are going to use it if they have access to it. But it would also give kids who have Down syndrome, or those of us like me who didn't find out till they're 38 that they were dyslexic. I passed the test. I found my superpower. And then they said you probably had ADHD, but it's in remission, but you have high verbal fluency. I know you have, you say you have ADHD. I don't know if that's diagnosed or not, but do you think for your child that if he was able to use AI, getting a bachelor's, we've seen children with or adults with Down syndrome get, do you think that would be impactful? And would that be something that he would want? Because I heard you say, him saying, but you got to ask me what I want. And that's a big thing that most men, we fail at when giving gifts. We don't ask what the people want. We give what we think is going to be the best gift ever. Here's your firearm. I didn't want that,
Exactly. And I'm very big on this, on understanding kind of, I call it kind of don't build for people without them, right? But don't, as a technologist, it's very similar to the gift giving of men, right? Is that as a technologist, I'm like, oh, I could fix that. Oh, I got that. I could build this. And now in the age of vibe coding, I don't even need to be super experienced engineer, right? I could just have a good idea, go into a vibe coding system like Lovable or Claude Code and be like, build me an app that does this. The challenge with that, of course, is that we are on this side. The people we're trying to help are on this side, and we never ask them like, hey, would this be valuable? Now, to your question on education, I am severely biased in this scenario because I don't really like the whole education process. You're on your second master's. That is awesome, amazing. But that's not for everybody, right? I'm still like, dyslexia and remission, ADHD, whatever. That just means your brain operates different than that system was built for. And so that's like kudos to you. But when I ask my kids what they want to do, it doesn't really include a traditional formal education path. It might. So I have 3 of my 6 kids are honor roll kids right now. I was never an honor roll student, ever. I don't even, when I saw it, we threw a party. They're like, what do you, and they even told me, they're like, I didn't make principal's honor roll, so it doesn't count. And I was like, what do you mean it doesn't count? So I even have, I'm hung up on some of these old ideals of what it means to get A's and B's in information you are not going to be tested on when you leave, when you become an adult. But what I do think is critical about that process is something I actually learned with an organization called Tech Duels. And this is the evolution of education. I worked with the Miami-Dade College, FIU, FAU, these local, you would know these local universities and colleges. And one thing that they were really desperate to figure out is how does a person who wants to learn something, how do they learn in the age of AI when they can write a perfect paper, right? And Tech Duels is an organization that approached me, and they basically teach a new rubric for measuring student success. And that rubric ends up being the ability to defend an idea. And so they do a debate, literally old school, high school debate style. They do it for little kids, high schoolers, college, and even professionals, which I was a judge in the younger ones and a participant in the older ones. But what I thought was really fascinating is they told you to pick a side, kind of like the AI doc, right? Pick a side and then defend that side, but you only have 4 minutes. And that's a skill we have not harnessed as humanity, is how to be, I'm experiencing it right now, how to be succinct, right? How to say something in 4 minutes or less that presents the argument, presents the, any conclusions about that argument, and ultimately closes someone on a perspective That I think is a pretty interesting skill that everyone is going to need to get better at in an age where AI can do all of the tasks associated with the job. Who's going to actually convince an organization to invest or buy or, support a cause? That's going to be the human work that we're doing in the future.
Hello, everyone. Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature, and traditions from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music, and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores via Ingram's Park. Don't miss this adventure.
And would you agree? Because I am from high school, by the grace of God, graduated with a fast 40, like Cat Williams. But I had like a 1.9 GPA. And if not for a fast 40, I don't know if Ottawa University would have let me in. But when I got to Ottawa University in Kansas, I then excelled because the way that I find out many moons later, if I like something, I will do it like that. If I don't, I shut it off. And so my brain only functions on what I like, which, okay, that's my issue. But I have to find what I really like to do, because then I could be on the honor roll and I won't even know it. And then I can go to the Harvard of the South, Grambling State, and I can say, oh, this is dope. And I can even teach the class in grad school. So I'm not the ideal person, because do you remember the old radios that if you needed a mic, you would push play and record, speak into it, and that would be my speaker for Romeo and Juliet, because none of that made sense until I could rap it myself. So do you think, with AI, that even your son who has Down syndrome, if he was able to use it, he could excel in the academic school that's not set up for a lot of us? A lot of us it's not meant for us. What are your thoughts on letting that happen and letting it be allowed as long as he can prompt it?
Absolutely. I think, unfortunately, we're in a stage right now where that is not up to him or his desire, but up to the leadership of that organization, which is why I focus a lot on leadership and changing the minds of people who hold the keys to these experiences. But I joined the Alexa team. He's 21 now, but when I joined Alexa, he was turning 9. And at 9, he was just starting to figure out that he didn't communicate like everyone else. He was getting integrated into mainstream school, and he realized, like, wait a second, I am very different than everyone. And teachers, I see this now even with my neurodiverse my other kids, my younger kids, but they're now older, but they go to school, and I'm watching teachers kind of like observe them. And there's so many crazy things that happen that feel like I'm in the 1940s when it comes to education, where the educators, will look at my son. I have my son and my daughter, they get dropped off at school at the exact same time. My daughter presents like me. She's got caramel skin, brown curly hair. My son presents like a white boy, right? Like he is, just typical gringo. And he never gets marked late, ever. And I drop them off late often. Never gets marked late. My daughter gets marked late every single time. So I'm a little bit worried about this traditional education system, but can my son go do? Yes, of course. There are actually great programs. FIU is one of them that actually kind of creates an environment that's conducive to that. The sad thing is that, like I said, the leadership of that organization, society as a whole, one of the biggest, saddest moments when my son was born is that the doctors presupposed he wouldn't be welcome in this world. And that persona, that feeling is still very, could he go? Could he succeed? Absolutely. But it would look a whole lot like my experience, right? When I went to school, I was the only woman. There were 3 in my class. And every single time I went to a class, people were like, are you sure you're in the right place? Cooking is down the hall. Like I had somebody on YouTube the other day be like, go back to the kitchen, right? Like, what do you know about machine learning? And I was like, where are we right now? So I think being able to do it is one thing, but having to do it in an environment it's like being an antibody. I'm here to help you body get better, but the organization, right, like acts against you. That's hard. And as a woman, as a person of color, right, I've already experienced that. So I'm kind of like, hey, honey, whatever you want to do. You want to go to school? Let's go to school. You don't want to go to school? That's fine. He is super into music. So what Alexa and ultimately AI is unlocked for him is the ability for him to use his words to do anything. So I focused on his ability to communicate. Can I get him to speak? I worked on recessive language, right? So I kind of programmed his mind with words so that when the moment came and he could actually use his words, he would be able to communicate to humans. Little did I know Alexa would show up, and now he can say things in the dark by himself over and over and over again, to the point where he can actually do things. He can call, like launch his bank account. He can talk to a lawyer. He can get services. The challenge is not, does he want to? The opportunity or challenge is that, are there businesses building voice interfaces that even let him do that work? And that's where I found the gap is not in his desire to be part of society and have these experiences, but that brands, Tide, Merrill Lynch, United Healthcare, they're not creating voice experiences that allow him to just ask for what he wants and interact with his bank account and interact with his lawyer, interact with Social Security. And that's the gap, right? Like, he wants to, now he can talk. Alexa has inspired him to be much more verbal, but now the world hasn't built experiences to match the technology that's available. And that's a leadership problem, not a technical one.
Well, I want to know, can we build that? And of course, we can have like the MVP on Lovable, and people, talk about Lovable's interface. MillionaireX.ai was built on Lovable, but I've seen some Lovables that are even doper, but they've taken 1,200 plus prompts. But can we build that on a Lovable? And also, give me more on your thoughts on the education, because is it that I can find the answer and then I can give it to you however I need to give it to you? I think about Stephen Hawkins, right? He wasn't the most verbal without the machines. But I also had a professor and a landlord who, Mr. Blakely, I hope he's still living, but he retired in 81 or 83. But he was still teaching in 2000 something. I'd say, why don't you teach like Mr. Taylor, like the math? People get it like that. And the math doctor, teaches that. Mathdoctor.com. You guys check that out. I've had him as a guest. But he said, no, that's too easy. And that's how I think people are like, well, if AI can just do it for you, that's too easy. But was the goal to find the answer however I needed to give it to you in my way? Or is the goal that half the class is going to struggle and fail, which I suffered from until I got to college? What do you think on the education on that? What do we need to do to change it? Because we are the change. Maybe we need to January 6th that, but we are the change. And can we build what you just mentioned on a Lovable or on another platform?
Yeah. All right. So I'll start with the second part first. I absolutely think that we can change it, and it changes by educating people that the rubric for student success is not, did you write a paper? Did you fill out this form? Did you do a multiple choice bubble sheet type test, right? That the rubric, how we measure student success, is going to be in their ability to communicate. So in AI Leadership Institute, we teach this AI Solution Architect class. A little of it is, do you know how to build the technology? But most of it's, do you know how to explain it? Do you know how to audit it, to check it? Do you know what good looks like? AI systems do not know what good looks like, right? They know what good has been told them it looks like. And I always tell people, if you're using an AI system and you didn't tell it what good looks like, please know someone else told it. And likely your definition of good and their definition of good are not the same. Maybe it's in your favor, but likely it isn't. I mean, enter any of these documentaries talking about how fast this is moving. I always look at the data scientists that helped build Alexa in the early days. None of them thought we would hit 100,000 users. 500 million homes later. We're like, wow, we probably should have thought about some things a little bit differently if we thought it was going to get into that many homes, right? If we thought it was going to be in hospitals, if we thought it was going to be in classrooms. The challenge with AI is it's baby tiger mode. When you start using it, you don't think about what it's going to look like when it's big. You don't think about how big its paws are or what it's going to eat or where it's going to live, because you're just like, it's so cute. I love this little thing. And then ultimately that little thing is a billion. I mean, look at ChatGPT. It started off, right, as a cool little text editor, a playground for data scientists. Just to have some fun. We weren't thinking about solving cancer or curing, like the world's ailments. And now it's being expected to do those things. It's hanging in there, but but that's something to think about. Now, when it comes to Lovable, no, I want to go back and mention really quickly, I did not graduate from high school. I also did not graduate from college. I went to both. They did not serve me, and I'm a Latina, so I just like walked away. Now, one of the reasons I did that, number one, I left high school to go to college because the college was like, you don't need to finish. And I was like, I don't. And so I went. Then I went to university, Embry-Riddle University, right before Y2K. And IBM walked in and said, you don't need to finish. You could get a job right now at IBM. And I don't know if you remember pre-Y2K, but getting a job at IBM was like the game. Like that was, my mom, my dad were like, high five, you made it. I don't care what happened in high school. You did a good, like it was good. So I took that road. So that's why, it's hard for me to have 6 kids and I'm like, get on the honor roll and graduate college. And when I'm like, yeah, or you do you, like maybe that's going to serve you, maybe it doesn't. What I will say is I got my degree from the University of Barnes & Noble, and I spent many a day and night in Barnes & Noble reading books, doing labs, and that's how I, got the skill set that I have today. But Lovable is interesting because it enters us into a slightly different conversation about software engineering, or SWE, right? Software engineering. And the future of software engineering is really, it's interesting right now, because right now when you use Lovable to build an application, to your point, 1,200 prompts, 200,000 lines of code, an engineer looks at that code, and often we now have a term for it. We call it AI slop, right? Is that these models, because they don't really understand and we don't train it on the definition of what good code looks like, we're just like, build me an app that does this. I don't care how you do it. I'm just going to be super impressed when you do. We go behind the scenes. And if you're a senior dev, even before AI, as a senior engineer, my job would be to look at junior engineer work and be like, hey, junior engineer, I love what you did there, but you totally messed this up. You need to refactor this. I don't know if you know, but there are 3 other classes in this package you could have used. Your package structure is a mess. So we educate the junior engineer. Today, like we're doing that for AI. As a senior engineer, I go in and I'm like, oh, I love what you did, but this is a bit of a mess. Let me clean this up for you. That's why code first AI is a thing, because it requires someone who actually knows what good looks like to manage the development. What happens when all of the AI does junior dev work and we don't build junior devs into mid devs into senior devs? What happens when that AI has no one to check whether or not it's doing a good job? Slop at scale across every organization in every industry. We're looking at that 18 months from now. So I always, a lot of kids are like, should I even get into software engineering? I'm like, yes. Companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they all have apprenticeship programs now, not to teach you something AI. To your point, AI can do that, but that's not why we're teaching it to you. We're teaching it to you so you as the human can become an expert at it and then become the guard, right? The guardian, the Sherpa for those AI systems to build stuff.
And which campus did you go to? Embry-Riddle, Prescott, or are you in Florida?
Florida, Daytona Beach. I think that's the real one.
Okay. I mean, you could have went with the terrorists. You might have known the terrorists, if you stayed long enough.
100%. 100% I have thought this, because it was the exact same time frame. I was not in aeronautical science, I was in avionics engineering, but still, yes, I could have walked the halls. I've thought of this many times. But anyway, I digress.
Yes. And when you say you didn't graduate high school, I assumed you got your GED. Is that how how did you just know how did they even let you in? Someone wants to know, how do they? SAT. High SAT score can get you in without a degree.
Probably.
Oh, she hit a 1,600, yo. Yeah. Okay. So that's
but that and a good essay. So I will say, like, having a good number and a good essay, same with 4.0, which I actually, again, that was a human who saw that and went, all right, we'll let you in. And I also went in during early admission. So I kind of like skirted all the normal processes so that I could, and I like closed my eyes and picked a Florida school because I'm from Florida, so that I wouldn't have to pay for it. I ended up paying for it anyway, but that was the idea at the time.
Okay, and I want to make this clear because I tell people you don't have to go to school, but there's certain things still you have to go to school for. But when people hear, I don't have a high school diploma, I don't have a college degree, you said Latina, I'll roll with that. I just see it was black because of the history and everything. And they'll say, oh man, Latina, of course she had 6 kids and she didn't have a degree, right? So there's something there, but I want to make it clear. Oh, but she's winning, and
Pressure.
and you have like me, people tease me because they say you have too many certificates. I say, how can you have too many? Many of them are in AI. But what do you think the one certification that you got in the learning that makes you so valuable? Because some people don't know now, should they be front end, back end, where old school people are like, I had to do it all. There was no choice.
Right. That's right. So I would say I call it the AI hat trick. I would get an AI certification from 3 top providers, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. But again, that's me. I go bigger, right? I'm not going to just like get one certification. When I was at IBM, I got every cert they had. There were 35 something certs in my career. And so when, for example, right now I'm teaching that hat trick to my students, right? Where you go and first we got AWS AI practitioner. Then we got AI fundamentals at Azure. Now we're doing Gen AI leader from Google. And start somewhere, right? Like some of these, there's entire certification paths. I'm just like, just start with the first one. Get like having, and I will tell you this as a hiring manager, as someone who's hired thousands of people at Microsoft and Amazon. The first thing I look at is your GitHub repo, right? The first thing I say is, have you built something? Are you in open source? Now, granted, I'm a technical hiring manager, so I'm hiring tech people, but I'm like, are you participating in the world of technology? And GitHub is my lens for that. But the second thing I ask is, has anyone other than you said you're good at this? And that is where certification, it's a little bit for the outside world. It's more for me. Like I like someone being like, you're awesome, stamp. But when as a hiring manager, and I've talked to hiring managers at IBM, Accenture, they're all, the first thing they're looking at is like, has someone else said you're awesome? That's why a GPA, 4.0 GPA is good. That's why having, a college degree. It's not saying you're smart. It's saying that someone trusted you with 4 years of your life and you finished the job. Like, so I didn't finish that job, but I have finished many, many other jobs since then. So certifications are kind of this micro commitment you're giving to your future employer or your future client that says, I studied for something and I knocked it out. I delivered results. It's a receipt, right? And so I like receipts. I like someone not being like, well, you said this. I like, no, I did that. And here is the receipt for that. And I think that mentality is going to become even more important moving forward. I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of AI talkers out there, right? And I'm looking for doers, right? I always say we're doers, we're not talkers. And the only way to prove you're a doer is to get receipts for your work. And certifications are one way to do that.
The one certification you got that I saw that I said, I didn't see the lovable certification. Maybe I was just too busy because I don't read the directions. I just want to get in and read that stuff. And I've been using it for more than a year. And I was like, oh, I got to get that one. But what would you
Oh my God. You would
Yeah.
oh my God, this is so good. You would instantaneously get it. So for all of you who are starting on Lovable, and I never really answered that question, so maybe I'll answer it at the same time. But Lovable, when you start building, they start collecting all the prompts that you've done and how much code you've written. They even collect how many pleases and thank yous you do, right? So they're like, are you a nice to robot person, or are you like commanding these things like your minions? But when you go into the settings, there's the ability that says publish your status on LinkedIn. And I didn't know what that meant, but I'm like, publish status. Okay. So I click that button and then it shows. So that right now it says gold. There's a whole bunch, right? Gold is like in the middle and it goes up automatically as you use Lovable more. And I was like, this is kind of brilliant. Because again, it's a third party saying, oh, I see you. You're doing these things. And now when you go and get a job or get a client or like this, get on a podcast, someone's like, what is that thing you got there, right? It is incredibly powerful to have a third party validate that you know what you're doing, or at least that you're doing the thing.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, We're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai, then download the Millionaire X app, your AI powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
So go do that
I
right now.
gotta. Yeah, I was while you were talking.
You're gonna beat me out.
Well, I don't know if I will, but one of my young guns from Wealthy Vibes, Tyler, he may, because he was the one who did the 1,200 prompts for his. Because I was like, Tyler, and he helped us with Millionaire X as well. And I said, Tyler, I don't like the interface. It reminds me of Wix, and he's too young to remember Wix. But but I said, or GeoCities, not even Wix, GeoCities. I said, it reminds me of GeoCities. He's too young to remember GeoCities for sure. He wasn't born then. And I'm like, yo, I said, and then he showed me what he had did in less than, 3 months. And he's done like over probably 20 lovable sites for people. I'm definitely sending him to your page. So when you see Tyler from Wealthy Vibes, I want to make sure he knows you, because it's like there's brilliant people, and like Nipsey said, they're a genius. They just don't have a platform to explain it. Now there's a platform. The gates, people are rushing down, tearing down the gates. The gatekeepers won't be there for long, because we're gonna just create what you thought you had a gate to.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah. So I appreciate you for saying that, but also for the Tylers and even the me's of the world who want to nerd out. We want to learn more. We want to bring a tribe with us. Tell us a community give back that you are doing or that you would like to do in the future. And even if we can help you with that, let it be known now. So everyone listening, which the majority of people are listeners, but go over to the YouTube and Facebook, y'all. Go check everything out. But give us the game on one of the community give backs that you're doing or that you would like to do.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's so many. The Gates Foundation opened up a grant program. So I have, of course, in addition to my for-profit company, the three of them, I also have a nonprofit organization. But they created a grant program and they wanted to level up women. But I think these programs that I came up with, I was like, this is good for anyone, but specifically those of us who are not, maybe we walk into a room and we're the only one who thinks the way we think, talks the way we talk, looks the way we look. And sometimes it's not just being a Latina, it's not just ethnicity and gender. It's literally like my life experience. I am just different than you. I was a mom for, early, and I have a lot going on. And when I walked into Alexa, for example, everyone around me was not a mom. None of them were parents. I have my dad. He lives right on the other side of this wall. He's been living with me for 15 years. Like, most people don't have that experience. So when I go to AI, I build very different than everyone else. But that being said, I want to share this with you either as something you can do for yourself, or like I said, you're welcome to join me. But one of the things that I do is every single week I get on a live call, I build a Zoom. I've actually created a community called I Love AI. It started with me and a few of my friends. Like, I went and pinged people, join me. As a matter of fact, Alex Hormozi, I'm sure you probably know him. I went to Alex Hormozi did this announcement. He's like, I'm building a new platform to democratize education. And based on our conversation, you can imagine, I was like, all right, where do I go? How do I sign up? So I went in, I built a school. That school, SKOOL, is it's just a place for people to come and have a safe conversation about AI, like ask stupid questions, get real answers, but most importantly, fingers on a keyboard. So I would do these things called live learning labs. Now, you could go anywhere and pay for this. I was just doing it for free because I wanted to create a space where people were like, wait, I could do this. This is something lovable. Like, I wanted to show vibe coding. I mean, I'm Noelle. I'm a viber, regardless of whether there's a name for it in engineering. But when vibe coding came out, I'm like, this is meant for me. Like, I meant to say the word vibe coding. That is such a Noelle thing. So I started talking about it. But I created the opportunity I created. And for those of you wanting to build a business in the now and in the future, like the emerging moment is building something where you create a community of people that know, like, and trust you, right? That is the goal, is do you have people that look at you and go, I actually think you know more than me, right? So I always look at people right behind me on the journey, right? Who is a solution architect? I was a solution architect early in my career. Who is a woman in tech? Who is, like, who was I 5 years ago? And those are the people I'm inviting to this community. And then I create a monetized platform. But the community activity that I did was inside this free community. I'm like, what is it that you don't get to do that you want to do in this space? And by far the largest number was that they don't get access to go to technical conferences. And I go to technical conferences as a speaker, as a paid speaker all the time. And I take my phone and I record the escalator going up to registration. And there are not too many people that look like me, sound like me, like, not too many women, not too many people of color. And I'm like, we got to change this. So I decided I'm going to build a delegation and I'm going to take 20 people to Microsoft Build. Like Afrotech, I'm not so worried. They had to build a whole event to like create a space for us. I'm like, no. We're going to Microsoft. We're going to Google. We're going to Apple. Like, we're going to go to these conferences and I'm not going to let, it's not your boss who gets to decide whether you go, right? You're going to take time off from work and you're going to get on a plane and you're going to go to this event. So that's but I couldn't have done that without a community. I couldn't have done that without figuring out who are the people that are willing to invest in themselves, who are the people that are willing to put their fingers on a keyboard and do something they've never done before, because those are the people I want to take with me to these events.
And I love that you do that. I have a school. I haven't put much time into it because I have some other things where I like to connect and how I like to connect with people. But we're seeing now everybody thinks they should have a school. And everybody thinks that they should be, from a life coach to, they've said, I've retired my unborn kids. I've retired my mother. And I'm one of those. This is an African household that I live in, that, in-law and old people from all aunts, tios, tias, everybody can come. Nobody ever has to be homeless. Even if I got to put you in my shed over here, it's clean. It has AC, whatever. My garage has AC too, but that's not typically the American way. And what do you think about it? Everybody's is thinking they have a school, because we know there's some grifters, but people also thinking if they join your school or your platform, they're going to become a millionaire overnight, and then I want to tap in after into the conferences, but please answer that, because people will see you and they'll expect more than whatever your amount of money is. They want their $5 to make them 50,000.
Yeah, and I think that's why I created a free community, so that there was no expectation. I will also say I'm extremely authentic in these like lives and videos. I'd give a lot of value at this level. So in the free community, there's no expectation of like anything. I mean, honestly, it's just like, if you want to learn from me, and I will say the number one thing I do, I of course speak on a lot of stages, go to a lot of meetups, host a lot of events. And my call to action is join this environment, right? It started with 27 people. We're at 2,500, but not everybody gets in. So I'm also very selective and I interview you, right? Like, what do you want to do? If you come into my community, and there are people who do, that say, I'm in here to learn about Forex trading and AI to make money. And people are proud, because that's kind of the hustle culture. Like, I'm here to get my first Lambo. Like, you don't get into this community. So that's the first thing I always tell people. I'm like, you get to choose who your people are. Like, you don't have to hire every one of your customers. Like, you can fire them even if you need to. And I've had to fire 3 in my life, and I don't want to do that. So I'm much harder on the door, right? So I'm like, it's got a red velvet rope, and I look you in the eye and we shake hands. And just like your house, like, yes, it's open, but not to everybody, right? Like, you're going to be open to people who you call family, and they may not be family by blood, but that's the idea, is I'm building a family. Now, from there, I have my paid community, and I will tell you, one of the best things I ever did was raise that price so I don't end up with people who are not doers, right? So I increased my price to ensure that the people who are doing it, one, I'm going to return that value easily, 10x, but I want to make sure you got skin in the game. And that's the only way I've been able to really deter people from being like, I've done nothing, but I expect everything. You can do nothing and expect everything in the free community, but there's no skin in that game. But if you pay, a price to get into my community and get one-on-one time with me, I'm going to make sure you're a doer, that you learn by doing, that you show, you don't tell, that you are on the side of ambition that I'm on. And I'm very, very selective about that. So that's one thing. But also I want to talk a little bit about ambition at all. Like I don't see a lot of ambition. I see a lot of talkers. But when ambition often equates to hard work, work you don't want to do, eating the frog, as they say, right? Like doing the things that most people procrastinate about. And so we have lots of tests of that before you get into our inner circle. Lots of tests that say, like, are you the one that finishes what you start? Are you the one that, says how many people have said, I'm going to start this business? And then like 10 years later, they're still starting the business, or I'm going to build this company. And then 5 months into that journey, they're working on their logo or their website. I do not, I mean, we're launching a business accelerator right now. We have a new cohort launching. Every single one of them, I'm like, we don't build a website. We don't build a business card. We don't build a logo. We build something of value, and then we talk to people about it that we think need it. That's it. That's how money is made. You exchange value for dollars. It has nothing to do with your website. So though I love lovable websites, that's not the first game you play, right? Like that's the enjoyment you get once you get your first 10 customers. So I think there's a bit of a reckoning that needs to happen with entrepreneur or wantrapreneurs, right? People that want to be an entrepreneur. And that's why I do the accelerator, is I like to separate those who want to be and those who are. And I think it's okay. Many people fail out of my accelerator program. But I'm like, that's because you got to the point where you had to talk to people and you're like, I want to talk to people. I'm like, then you don't want to be an entrepreneur. like there are hats you have to wear, certainly in the beginning, in order to get where you want to go. And then I just tell you to be honest with yourself. If you don't want to do that work, do you really want to go there? And most of the time they're like, actually, I don't. I just want to be an employee. That's it. So I think there's a little bit of a mama bear in me that helps people figure out what they actually want to do.
Well, if you guys don't want to talk to people, hit cprfirm.com. That's what I really do in real life. If you have clients, we have clients who don't want to do that, or they don't want to deal with the business. They just want to be maybe the face, or they just want to, do the design. And we're out there, handling the business. And that's the part. The networking is what I love. And that's why I wanted to ask you, for the conferences. We just came back with 2 clients from CES. Once some of the folks, the Black folks, found each other, we're like, oh, here you are. I've been going to CES for over a decade. I've worked CES for companies. I don't see a lot of us there. And when I would tell people, they're like, what is that thing that you always say? It's the same thing as the AVN. And I'm like, that's the part you remember. Like, you ain't really trying to go to CES. And it is no longer around the same time as AVN, you guys. So they've switched the date. So if you guys are thinking whatever.
You're all backwards.
Yeah. But I love going as a group, because when my clients just happen to be Black, but all of our clients aren't. But I love that we are at least now showing up, because there's still places that people won't go. And they're like, Kellen, I don't want to go there, or they don't like us. And not just in America, but even when I'm in Africa, they're like, Kelly, the Boers. I said, the Boers are our besties. You got to go in there like you own this place,
Right.
I'm coming and speaking Afrikaans if need be. But what do you think that, and how can somebody join? Do they have to join the paid group to go as a collective with you? Because when we go in as a collective, like Martin Lawrence said, they treat us a little different. They're a little nicer.
That's right. That's right. So no, absolutely. That's why I ended up doing this as part of my nonprofit, because number one, companies have money that they want to fund. I mean, or at least I should say, they're saying that they want to fund these types of efforts. So I'm calling them on that. I'm like, hey, so it says here in your annual report that you're supporting causes like this. So I'm here for that. So yeah, no, it's part of my nonprofit. They do have to be, they have to be in the community. And not the paid community, the free community. Like they just have to show up. But also, I often just say, hit me up on LinkedIn, send me a message. We'll have a conversation. I have conversations every single day. Just where are you at? Now, if you're making $200K as an engineer at some company, I'm probably not going to pay for you to go to Microsoft Build, right? Like take 2 days off and use your money for good cause. But if you're a young engineer, if you're early in career, or if you're in transition, if you're an entrepreneur, you're pre-revenue, like there's lots of opportunities where this type of experience, to your point on CES, changes the whole game. You have one talk with one person and your whole career can change. I will tell you, I was on LinkedIn doing a LinkedIn Live, and someone saw me. This is why I like LinkedIn Lives. Someone saw me from an organization called Mind Valley, and they were looking for someone to help them in their event. And I didn't know nothing about it. I'm like, I do webinars all the time. I'm happy to help you out. I find out later that there's 150 people, 150,000 people on that webinar. That webinar changed my whole perspective. Like people I did not know automatically became aware of me. The reach I got through that platform, but it became because I was willing to say yes when some strange person was like, hey, do you want to come do a webinar for us? I didn't know Mind Valley. Turns out it's a pretty big brand. Now I know them. My mom knows who they are, right? My friends know who they are, but I didn't know. And so these are the things, though. You don't get these experiences unless you're willing to put yourself out there. I put myself out there on live video all the time, but it's equally, and I think a little bit better, to do it in person. Shake someone's hand, look them in the eye, hang out with them. There was a great party at CES with the sisters in sales. I don't know if you know those ladies, but it's like a bunch of women of color who are killing it in sales across all like huge enterprise Fortune 100 companies. They are rock stars, but the people they attract into that room, I was like, how did I get it? How did I get an invite to this? Like, this is pretty amazing. And that's what I think, that's what I want. I want to, I don't want to like feel like I'm leaning down and helping someone out. I just want to put my hand on someone's back and be like, come with me. Like, just do this with me. No harm, no foul, just experiencing it. And that experience can be a trajectory changer. And now I've seen it for myself, and now I want to do it for other people too.
No, I love that. And that's, the difference between if you get a job or a client. The conferences to me make the difference. When people see that you go out there and you check them out. For some reason, I don't know why this conversation on education, because I think America, like traveling around the world, I think America's behind on our thinking on like, oh, AI, and hearing professors say, but I don't want my class to be so easy. And I'm thinking, but do you want to be effective? Is it to get the student who's also the client or the customer a job if he passes your class? Do you think we're behind? Because when you go to Asia, they're not having these same conversations. They're actually so ahead of the game. They already got AI girlfriends, many moons ago.
That's right.
So yeah, what do you think about that? And what can we do to get education, the government? Because we know the government is slower than everybody.
Yeah.
We're behind. And I'll even say with, I know you don't speak good Spanish, you said, but I've been to
I
Loza.
understand though.
Yeah, okay, you understand. I've been to Loza. I've been around Puerto Rico. Loza has the best pinchos, y'all, and that's where, the Nigerian culture and history. Go check it out. But, Hispanics traditionally, people don't expect Hispanics to go to school until you go to like El Paso and you see like a Hispanic institution. I love the least of these. I love the underdog. That's why I look out for all my Haitians out here. People say, are you Haitian? I say, we're everything. We were body, soul. But, but I look out and I think about how you as a Latina, you tell me your thoughts. I could get it wrong. People probably thought, oh, you're beautiful. Oh, just be beautiful. And you have a brain. My wife used to always say that. Oh, I have a brain too. She's like, I'm not just whatever you see here. But on Univision, still to this day, I don't see enough in pushing the mind. I remember when like I would be shocked at Univision because there would be no commercials during Sábado Gigante. It would just be the Tide commercial and the woman half naked just with the Tide. What are we doing for the Latina community and the least of these and changing for education? Because if I don't speak English here in America, I don't have to. But why can't AI translate that for me and I still get it? Like I threw a whole soliloquy out there, but I just want to know your thoughts on that and how we get those communities more educated.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the challenges, so in high school, I was in 11th grade, my economics teacher looked at me and said, I'm not going to pass you. And I love it when other like men specifically are like, oh, I squeaked by and in school, and I'm so lucky I got this teacher who gave me a D instead of an F. as a Latina, they are quick to not do that. They are quick to give the F, quick to be like, yeah. And what he told me back then, I still remember. I do not think he is with us anymore. He was old then, and that was a couple decades ago. But he said, "You are so good," and he said it in a way I almost believed him. You are so good at people. You are so good at communicating. You should definitely go into food service or retail. Like that is your future. And he told me, he's like, you don't even need to finish high school to do that. You could start making money for your family right now. And I wanted to be at that time a physicist. I was very into physical sciences. And he was like, you don't even need to finish high school. Just go work at Wet Seal. Just go work at, he didn't say Walmart, thank goodness. He probably thought it would trigger me. But he did say, like, you don't belong in high school. In high school. And I thought to of course, being a Latina, I'm one of those people who like take offense kind of quickly. And that day, literally, I was like, do I even need to be here? Is there a way for me to go to college without your permission? Like, can I go without graduating? And that's how I found out that I only needed an SAT score. And that's how I made sure I did not miss a single question on that test. And then I also made sure I knew how to write well and communicate well, which apparently he thought I did. But that's what I thought was so interesting is I was like, how many other women, Latinas specifically, are getting that advice, right? That, hey, you know what? School probably isn't for you. Math isn't for you. Going to a university isn't for you, but you can help your family right now. And that's how they almost got me is I was like, I can make money right now. And I almost did until I was like, wait a second. Actually, no, I can make a lot more money. Now, I didn't know Y2K was coming back then. This was before that. But thank God I did my own thing, went to Embry-Riddle, Y2K happened, and it changed the course of everything I would have done. I instantly made six figures as soon as I left school early. But like, it was a six-figure opportunity that I left graduating college for. And back then, six figures was a dream I never thought I could dream, right? And so this is why I think one of the most important things we can do is show up and be extremely visible, right? What's up? Oh, you stopped.
So keep going. Excuse me, y'all. I don't control the power.
That's right. That's awesome. I mean, but I didn't even know. I saw your face. At least it wasn't like it was like, but yeah, so I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is that a lot of young women like me, if I went and looked, who's a physicist right now? I didn't see no one that looked like me. I didn't see anybody who even looked a little like me, who even had my skin color. When I went to school, I was the only person. So I became good at being the only, but I also found it kept so many people from even saying yes. So when I joined Alexa, first thing I did was I went to as many women as I could and as many people of color. And I'm like, this is it. This is the game. Jeff Bezos is opening the team. We should all go. Every single person I asked said no. For all sorts of reasons. They said no because they didn't have, one of them was like, I just got promoted and I don't want to disappoint my boss. Another one was like, oh, I'm about to get promoted. Another one's like, I really like my team. Now 10 years, 12 years later, they're all like, dang, I should have went because that boss left, that team I'm not on anymore. Like all the reasons that kept them from taking advantage of an AI opportunity, it kept them from a trajectory in their life that now that moment's gone. Like they can't ever be the first person on Alexa now. Like now they can be one of the many, but the world opens up to you. But the main reason is because someone like me came and handed it to them. How many times have I gone to a woman or a person of color and said, hey, do you want to speak on this stage? And you know what they say? Oh, yeah, no, I'm not the one, but my buddy Bob over here, Brad, he's pretty good at that. He does it all the time. You should talk to him. Like, that's what they say to me. They turn down their own destiny out of whatever, incorrect thinking is going on in their mind. So I do think it's a lot about us showing up, us demonstrating that it's, like you said, I do make it look a little bit easy, but it's easy for me because I love it. If you find what you love, it's not work, right? Well, somebody said that. Was it Zig Ziglar or somebody, right? Like, if you find what you love,
Yeah.
you never work a day in your life. And that is my life right now. I actually work too hard because I love it so much. But being the example, that is the key. Like, how do we show people that that you can do this, that this work is possible, owning a company, hitting 6 figures, hitting 7 figures. These are realities. That's why I'm so transparent with money I make, businesses I build, because I just want someone to go, okay, well, I mean, granted, she's 20 years older than me, but if she could do it, I could do it. And I don't think there's enough of that right now. I don't think there's enough of us claiming I mean, we might be successful, but we're not talking publicly about that success.
I could go all day long. I asked for an hour of her time, you guys. I could go Joe Rogan style, but she probably has 5 other meetings after. But I do want to, from the beginning, answer that question, and you can answer it as quick as you need to. Cut me off at any time. But what would you say to the person who says, I want to get that $1 trillion company, or even that $10 million company? What do I need to be doing right now? Should I go on Lovable right now? Should I be going and asking you in your paid school to mentor me for paid mentorship? I want to win. I want my family to win. I want to be a success. What should they be doing?
I'm going to give this answer in a couple ways. One, the first thing, the most important thing in any entrepreneur, you want to build a business, you want to make $1 million, you want to make 10 million. The amount is completely irrelevant. You can pick that number and you can hit that number, especially in the age of AI. Sam Altman, right? He would say, it has never been a better time to get into entrepreneurship because you can go from idea to execution in an extremely shortened time frame. Now, however, I will take a note from Jeff Bezos and Andy Jassy. These are the leaders of Amazon. No matter what you think about them, they are doing a thing. Amazon's a very large company, being very successful, entering new markets. One of the things they said is there's no compression algorithm for experience. And that I think is true. So one of the things is look at your lived experience. What do you know? Like you have done, you know very well. And there are a bunch of people who are you 5 years ago, 5 months ago, 5 days ago that are like, gosh, I wish I could be that. That is your opportunity right now to scale a very successful business, delivering value to people who don't know what you know. It's kind of like that. There's a saying about a guy, an old gentleman comes on a submarine with a wrench and they're like, our submarine is broken. And he's like, yeah, no problem. He comes in, he hits the submarine and he walks out and bills them $100K. And they're like, whoa, bro, you came in for 5 seconds and you hit a thing. And he's like, yeah, you paid me $10 to walk in, but you paid me, whatever, $999. I should have picked a different number, but you paid me everything else because I knew where to hit the hammer. I knew exactly what to do to solve your problem. That is where your money is. And you already know it. You already did something in your life that you know better than everyone else who's trying to do that thing. For me, luckily, it ended up being artificial intelligence. But it took me 10 years to get there. I've been talking about AI for 10 years. Nobody was listening until 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? Like nobody cared. Like I would say, and people like, yeah, Noelle and your AI stuff. And I'm like, no, this is legit. It's happening. They're like, yeah. Now everybody's saying those things, right? 90% of my inbox is filled with AI. If you've been working on AI for 10 years, do that. But if you've been a project manager, teach people how to do that. If you've been in healthcare, if you've been a nurse, right? If you've been a farmer, agriculturalist, these are all people in my community. It doesn't matter what your lived experience is. The most important thing you need to know is you're not alone. And there are so many people behind you wishing they could be where you are. Even though you don't think that, it is the truth. I always say, you look around, if you are sitting here listening to this, you have survived 100% of your bad days. There are a lot of people experiencing their worst day right now, looking for and just like you said, maybe they'd be willing to pay you 10 grand to get out of that bad day. And they likely would if you've got a big enough problem that you are interested in solving. Where does Lovable fit in? I encourage you to get in the habit of taking your ideas and building them with your words. Lovable is a great place to do that. However, it's a little expensive. So I'm going to complicate it a tiny bit by saying start in a model that's a little less expensive, ChatGPT, Claude, and ideate. And then when you hey, I want to build, I'm a physician. I want to open my own clinic. I want to do this. I want to do that. Just have a conversation. Do not ask AI what it thinks you should do. It is not a vending machine. You don't say, what are my goals for 2026? Give me, a prophecy. It'll give you old data regurgitated in new words. What you want to do is come to it with an idea and let AI expand your thinking about it, right? Because it knows more stuff. It'd be like talking to a board of advisors. But that is go into Claude, ChatGPT, ideate with it on the thing that you already know, on the skill you already have. I always say, go back to like when you were a kid. What did you love to do? Were you a skateboarder? Were you like, did you like music? Were you a DJ in college? What did you want to do? And just lean into that a little bit. What if you could do the thing that you've dismissed in your mind because somebody told you couldn't do it because it was hard, it was expensive, you didn't have the skill? All of those things can be resolved now with AI. Not the idea. The idea is yours, but the ability to deliver on that idea in a way that makes money, that is where AI can help you. So go into Lovable, play around, ask Claude to build you a Lovable prompt. That way you don't burn up a bunch of credits on Lovable and end up spending a bunch of money. But that will show you like, oh my gosh, I said this thing, I built this thing, and no one else can build that because they don't know those words. They don't have that lived experience. And that's what I did. I literally took my life experience, condensed it, leveraged AI to build it into a course, into an event, into a speaking career. And I did all of that because my idea was I wanted to democratize access to this information, but the execution I could not have done without artificial intelligence. That's what made me a one-person company that's now making 7 figures on my way to 8, right? Like and eventually 9, right? 9 is the goal, is I want to be a one-person company, a unicorn, right? That makes $1 billion. And it's possible now, but I have to have the right idea. So start thinking.
Yeah, I thank you. When you say Lovable is expensive, and I know people say, well, Kelly, everybody's not able, but I think it's a lot cheaper than when we used to have to build a team to build apps. Yeah, and if you guys watch and hear Dave Blunden talk about he's spending a $6K, yeah, $100,000 a month on his just things pushing through on, you don't know what he's building. He doesn't say it on the Moonshot podcast, but he went to MIT and he has all these, nerds and geeks around him. I just want to be in the room. I just want to be in the room when it happens. The room. I just want to.
That's like an Emerson playlist right there.
Okay, I said I wasn't going to bug you anymore because I know you're running off. I hear the helicopter, but if I can squeeze one more out of you, because I could go all night. Could you tell us, given that, again, you have this 2 ways to say, Neuralink is coming. Because I want to answer things that I couldn't answer naturally because I don't practice enough. But some people will say, giving it to the people who we feel that are, disabled. What if they like that? What if they like where they're at? Why are we trying to give everyone fake teeth, fake hairlines? What? Not to take my hat off so you guys know I'm not as, yeah. So what do you think about that? Having a child, would you sign your child up if he's like, oh, I'd love that because I'd love to be able to communicate with you guys in a different way?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in only building for people with the people you're building for. So if I bring him over and I'm like, here's what this is going to look like, this is what it can do. Also being very transparent about the consequences, which there are, of building something like that. Any technology most likely is going to be built by people who don't have the problem that they're trying to solve, which means there's a gap. And if they did not invite those people into the design conversation, there'll likely be a gap, which means it's kind of like what you were saying about those, people coming in and being like, how do I make $1 million overnight? Like there's an expectation. I give you Neuralink and you're going to think instantly it's going to be amazing. But every AI system starts broken. Every single one. It's up to the human to be like, that's broken, fix this, it's called human feedback, right? Reinforcement learning with human feedback. It's a machine learning term, but it's the only way models get better. Some of you probably have seen in a model like thumbs up, thumbs down at the bottom of a prompt. It's asking you to give it feedback so it knows what's good and what isn't. The bad thing about that is that, like, if my son struggles with communication and he also has autism, so he has a lot of stuff like that he's dealing with, will he be frustrated? Will it help him or will it frustrate him? I'm a big believer of try it and see what happens. But if I don't have a lot of confidence in how many people with Down syndrome or clinicians were involved in the development of that thing, there's going to be a huge gap because I know AI, I know technology, that the technology gap is significant. It's why IDC and Forbes released an article saying 95% of AI projects are failing to deliver value to the people who are building it. And why is that? Because there's a gap between the thing we're building and the people who need it. And there's lots of different types of gaps. One of them is people are too afraid to use the thing, right? Another is that it doesn't actually do the thing they were promised, right? There's a trust gap. There's lots of reasons. But the one thing you can do to shorten that gap is just make sure if you're going to be the person building something, unless you're building for you 5 years ago, meaning you have a lot of empathy, right, for the use case, you better go out there and find the person, right? Find the group of people that represent this, and they need to tell you what to build. This is like decades and hundreds of years, right? Centuries in the making of people building stuff for a community they do not understand. And then that community suffers as a result of that development, not gets better. And that's what we're seeing with AI, right? I mean, there's who is this woman, her name, maybe you'll have her on your show. She's amazing. Her name's Erin Reddick. She created Chat Black GPT to just demonstrate how very off these models are and how much inherent disconnection there is with she's a cultural futurist. But she's amazing because she goes to organizations like BET, right? Like she goes to organizations that are supposedly building for African Americans, for Black people, and people in that company are not Black. Like we walk into the room and we're like, wait a second, so you're not, okay. So we need to teach them what certain slangs mean so they don't use it in marketing and think it's cool when it's actually a complete disaster. These are things like AI will do for you. AI is going to go and be like, oh my gosh, this word is great. You slide into the DMs. Like that's such a good thing to say. When you don't really understand what it is if you are not part of that community. So that's the danger, is we need people who will uphold the truth. We need people who will be the guardians of justice, of equity, of inclusion. AI systems, the 5% that are winning, that 5% that are winning, they're winning because they included the people they're trying to help, right? They close that gap. And here's the good news. You are the gap closer, right? If you're listening or watching this, like that's you. Whatever experience you have, whatever lived experience you've gone through, like those are things you can now help an AI system solve for. It can't do it by itself. It'll be broken until you get involved.
And you guys are the ones who create the culture globally. You're listening to this. You guys have gotten the game. I am so thankful Noelle gave me that extra time. So that helicopter, that the thing is still spinning. This is South Florida. Yeah. But you guys, I need you to do a couple things. I know you guys will comment. I know you can like it, but I need you to share this game with someone. This is going to change the game for somebody. You guys be blessed out there.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.